guys, I'm gonna read Deaturomony chapter 13 till I think 28. Yes, alright. Chapter 13 to Deaturomony 28. I think that's enough to read. Like, because the chapter goes to Deaturomony, 33 pages in Deaturomony. No, it's 34 pages in Deaturomony. So I might just read the 28. I don't know yet. It's like a lot of pages. Or maybe stop at 20. So we're at Deaturomony chapter 13. And I'm reading now the NIVR Bible. So it says, suppose a prophet appears among you, or someone comes who uses dreams to tell what is going to happen. He tells you that a sign or something amazing is going to take place. The sign or amazing thing he has spoken about might really take place. And then the prophet might say, let's serve other gods, let's worship them. But you haven't known anything about those gods before. So you must not listen to what that prophet or dreamer has said. The Lord your God is testing you. He wants to know whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. And you must worship him. You must honor him. Keep his commands. Obey him. Serve him. Remain true to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death. He told you not to obey the Lord and follow other gods. The Lord your God. The Lord brought you out of Egypt. He set you free from the land where you were slaves, and he commanded you to live the way he wants you to. But that prophet or dreamer has tried to get you to be unfaithful to the Lord. Get rid of that evil person. And suppose your very own brother or sister secretly tempts you to do something wrong, or your child or your wife you love tempts you, or your closest friend does it. Suppose one of them says, let's go and worship other gods. But you and your people of long ago hadn't known anything about those gods before. They are the gods of the nations around you. Those nations might be near or far away. In fact, they might reach from one end of the land to the other. Don't give in to those who are tempting you, and don't listen to them. Don't feel sorry for them, and don't spare them or save them. You must certainly put them to death. You must be the first to throw stones at them. Then all the people must do the same thing. Put them to death by throwing stones at them. They tried to turn you away from the Lord your God. He brought you out of Egypt. That's the land where you were slaves after you killed those who tempted you. All the Israelites will hear about it, and they will be too scared to do evil things like that again. The Lord your God is giving you towns to live in, but suppose you hear something bad about one of those towns. You hear that the people who cause trouble have appeared among you, and they tried to get the people of their town to do something wrong. They said, let's go and worship other gods, but you haven't known anything about those gods before. So you must ask the people some questions, and you must check out the matter carefully. If it's true, an evil thing has really happened among you. It's something the Lord hates. Then you must certainly kill with your swords everyone who lives in that town. You must destroy it completely. You must wipe out its native people and livestock, and you must gather all the goods of that town into the middle of the main street. You must burn the town completely, and you must burn up everything in it. It's a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. The town must remain a pile of stones forever, and it must never be built again. Don't keep anything that should be destroyed. Then the Lord will turn away from his great anger. He will show you mercy. He'll keep deep concern for you, and he'll cause there to be many of you. That's what he promised your people of long ago. He gave his word when he made the promise. The Lord your God will do those things if you obey him. I'm giving you his commands today, and you must obey all of them, and you must do what is right in his eyes. I don't know what they're talking about. Deaturomony chapter 14. Clean and unclean food. You are the children of the Lord your God. You are the children of the Lord your God. Don't cut yourself to honor the dead. Don't shave the front of your heads to honor the dead. You are a holy nation. The Lord your God has set you apart for himself. He has chosen you to be his special treasure. He has chosen you out of all the nations on the face of the earth. Don't eat anything the Lord hates. Here are the only animals you can eat. You can eat oxen, sheep, goats, deer, gazelles, roe deer, wild goats, ibexes, antelope, and mountain sheep. You can eat any animal that has a divided hoof, but it must also chew the cud. Some of the animals only chew the cud. Others only have a divided hoof. The camel, rabbit, and rock badger chew the cud, but they don't have a divided hoof, so you can't eat them. They are not clean for you. Pigs aren't clean for you either. They have a divided hoof, but they don't chew the cud, so don't eat their meat, and don't touch their dead bodies. Many creatures live in the water, and you can eat all the ones that have fins and scales, but don't eat anything that doesn't have fins and scales. It isn't clean for you. You can eat any bird, but there are many birds you can't eat, and they include eagles, vultures, and black vultures. They include red kites, black kites, and all kinds of falcons. They include all kinds of ravens. They include horned owls and screech owls and gulls and all kinds of hawks. They include little owls, great owls, white owls, and desert owls. And they include ospreys and cormorants. I don't know how to say that. cormorants. They include storks and all kinds of herons. And they also include hoopoes and bats. All flying insects are unclean for you, so don't eat them. But you can eat any creature that has wings and is clean. If you find something that's already dead, don't eat it. You can give it to an outsider living in any of your towns and they may eat it, or you can sell it to someone from another country. But you are a holy nation, and the Lord your God has set you apart for himself. Don't cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Give a tenth of what you produce, and be sure to set apart a tenth of everything your fields produce each year. Here are the things you should eat in the sight of the Lord your God. You should eat a tenth part of your grain, olive oil, and fresh wine. You should also eat the male animals among your livestock that were born first to their mothers. Eat all these things at the special place the Lord your God will choose. He will put his name there, and you will learn to honor him always. But suppose the place the Lord will choose for his name is too far away from you, and suppose your God has blessed you, and your tenth part is too heavy for you to carry, then sell it for silver. Take the silver with you. Go to the place the Lord your God will choose. Use the silver to buy anything you like. It can be cattle or sheep. It can be any kind of wine. In fact, it can be anything else you wish. Then you and your family can eat there in the sight of the Lord your God. You can be filled with joy. Don't forget to take care of the Levites who live in your towns. They won't receive any part of the land as their share. At the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of everything you produce that year. Store it in your towns, then the Levites can come and eat. That's because they won't receive any part of the land as their share. The outsiders and widows who live in your towns can come. So can the children whose fathers have died. Everyone can have plenty to eat. Then the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Deaturomony chapter 15. The year of forgiving people what they owe. At the end of every 7 years, you must forgive people what they owe you. Have you made a loan to one of your people? Then forgive what is owed to you. You can't require that person to pay you back. The Lord's time to forgive what is owed has been announced. You can require someone from another nation to pay you back, but you must forgive what any of your own people owes you. There shouldn't be any poor people among you. The Lord will greatly bless you in the land he has given you. You will take it over as your own. The Lord your God will bless you if you obey him completely. Be careful to follow all the commands I'm giving you today. The Lord your God will bless you, just as he has promised. You will lend money to many nations, but you won't have to borrow from any of them. You will rule over many nations, but none of them will rule over you. And suppose someone is poor among you, and suppose they live in one of the towns in the land the Lord your God is giving you. Then don't be mean to them. They are poor, so don't hold back money from them. Instead, open your hands and lend them what they need. Do it freely, and be careful not to have an evil thought in your mind. Don't say to yourself, the seventh year soon be here. It's the year for forgiving people what they owe. If you think like that, you might treat the needy people among you badly. You might not give them anything. Then they might make their appeal to the Lord against you, and he will find you guilty of sin. So give freely to needy people. Let your heart be tender toward them, and then the Lord your God will bless you in all your work. He will bless you in everything you do. There will always be poor people in the land, so I'm commanding you to give freely. To those who are poor and needy in your land, open your hands to them. Set your Hebrew servants free. Suppose any Hebrew man or woman sell themselves to you, and if they do, they will serve you for 6 years, and then in the 7th year you must let them go free. But when you set them free, don't send them away without anything to show for all their work. Freely give them some animals from your flock. Also give them some of your grain and wine. The Lord your God has blessed you richly. Give to them as he given to you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God set you free. That's why I'm giving you this command today. As it says, Deaturomony 15:10, give freely to the needy people, and let your heart be tender toward them. How does God law show that he cares about the poor? Deaturomony chapter 15, verse 7, verse 8-12. God's law told the people of Israel to lend people to the poor, to lend money to the poor. But they should not charge interest. Sometimes the only way a person could get out of debt was to be sold as a servant. But after 6 years, he or she was set free. Then the person was given enough money for a new start in life. Other laws God made show that he cares for the poor, and God wants to help others too. But suppose your servant says to you, I don't want to leave you. He loves you and your family, and you are taking good care of him. Then take him to the door of your house, poke a hole through his earlobe into the doorpost, and he will become your servant for life. Do the same with your female servant. Don't think you are being cheated when you set your servants free. After all, they have served you for 6 years. The service of each of them has been worth twice as much as the service of a hired worker. And the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Male animals born first to their mothers. Set apart every male animal among your livestock that was born first to its mother. Set it apart to the Lord your God. Don't put a firstborn cow to work, and don't clip the wool from a firstborn sheep. Each year, you and your family must eat them. Do it in front of the Lord your God, at the place he will choose. Suppose an animal has something wrong with it. It might not be able to see or walk, or it might have a bad flaw. Then you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You must eat it in your own towns. Those who are clean and those who are unclean can eat it. Eat it as if it were antelope or deer meat, but you must not eat meat that still has the blood in it. Pour the blood out on the ground like water. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Celebrate the Passover feast of the Lord your God in the month of Abib. In that month he brought you out of Egypt at that night. Sacrifice an animal from your flock of herd. It is the Passover sacrifice to honor the Lord your God. Sacrifice it at the special place the Lord will choose. He will put his name there. Don't eat the animal along with bread made with yeast. Instead, for 7 days, eat bread made without yeast. It's the bread that reminds you of how much you suffered. Remember that you left Egypt in a hurry. Remember it all the days of your life. Don't forget the day you left Egypt, and don't keep any yeast anywhere in your land for 7 days. You are sacrificed the Passover animal on the evening of the first day. Don't let any of its meat be left over until the next morning. Right. Oh yeah, gosh, she slammed the door again. It's so weird. So, you must not sacrifice the Passover animal in any town the Lord your God is giving you. Sacrifice it in the special place he will choose for his name. Sacrifice it there in the evening when the sun goes down. Do it on the same day every year, and be sure it's the day you left Egypt. Cook the animal and eat it. Do it at that place the Lord your God will choose. Then in the morning return to your tent. For 6 days eat bread made without yeast. On the seventh day come together for a service to honor the Lord your God, and don't do any work on that day. The Feast of the Weeks. Count off 7 days, 7 weeks from the time you begin to cut your grain in the field. Then celebrate the Feast of the Weeks to honor the Lord your God, and give to the Lord anything you choose to give as an offering. Give just as the Lord has given to you. Be filled with joy in the sight of the Lord your God, and be joyful at the special place he will choose for his name. Your children and your male and female servants should be joyful. So should the Levites living in your town. So should be the outsiders and widows living among you. And so should the children whose fathers have died. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. Be careful to obey the rules I'm giving you. The Feast of Booths. Gather the grain from the threshing floor, and take the fresh wine from your winepress. Then celebrate the Feast of Booths. For 7 days, be filled with joy at the feast. Your children and your male and female servants should be joyful. Should the Levites, the outsiders, and the widows living in your towns. And so should the children whose fathers have died. For 7 days celebrate the feast to honor the Lord your God. Do it at the place he will choose. The Lord will bless you when you gather all your crops, and he'll bless you in everything you do. And you will be full of joy. All your men must appear in front of the Lord your God at the holy tent. They must go to the place he will choose, and they must do it 3 times a year. And they must go there to celebrate the feast of the unleavened bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Booths. None of your men should appear in front of the Lord without bringing something with him. Each of you must bring a gift. Give to the Lord your God just as he has given you to you. What 3 feasts were all men of Israel to celebrate together? Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. All the men of Israel were supposed to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Booths. They were to go to one place that the God would choose. God chose Jerusalem. Jerusalem became the most important city in Israel. Appoint judges and officials. Appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes, and do it in every town the Lord your God is giving you. They must judge the people fairly and do what is right. Treat everyone the same, and don't take money from people who want special favors. It makes those who are wise close their eyes to the truth. It twists the words of those who have done nothing wrong. Do only what is right, then you will live. You will take over the land the Lord your God is giving you. It keeps telling you don't worship other gods, false religions. Don't worship other gods. Don't set up a wooden pole used to worship the female god named Asherah. Don't set it up beside the altar and you built to worship the Lord your God. Don't set up a sacred stone to honor another god. The Lord your God hates Asherah poles and hates sacred stones. Suppose an ox or a sheep has anything at all wrong with it, then don't sacrifice it to the Lord your God. He hates it. Someone living among you might do what is evil in the sight of the Lord your God. It might happen in one of the towns. The Lord is giving you. That person is breaking the Lord's covenant, and the person might have worship or bow down to other gods. The person might have bowed down to the sun or moon or stars in the sky. I have commanded you not to do these things. And when you hear that people have done something like that, check the matter out carefully. If it's true, and evil things has been done in Israel, the Lord hates that. So take the person who has done that evil thing to your city gate, put that person to death by throwing stones at them. See, they used to kill people. They used to false. They worship other gods. No one can be put to death because of what only one witness says. 2 or 3 witnesses are required. The witness must throw the first stones. Then the rest of the people must also throw stones to get rid of that evil person. So when Christ came and died on the cross, the stoning, killing people stopped. We are now commanded to pray for people that falsely worship false religions. Law courts. People will bring their cases to your courts, but some cases will be too hard for you to judge. They might be about murders, attacks, or other crimes. Then take those hard cases to the place the Lord your God will choose. Go to a priest who is a Levite, and go to the judge who is in office at that time. Ask them for the decision. Then they will give it to you. Their hand down. Their decisions at that place the Lord will choose. You must do what they decide, and be careful to do everything they tell you to do. Act according to whatever they teach you. Accept the decisions they give you, and don't turn away from them. Don't turn away from what they tell you. Don't turn to the right or left. Someone might show that they don't respect the judge, or they will show that they don't respect the priest. The priest will serve the Lord your God at that place, and God will choose. If anyone doesn't show respect for these people, that person must be put to death. Remove that evil person from Israel. All the Israelites will hear about it, and they will be afraid to disrespect a judge or a priest again. Appoint the king the Lord chooses. You will enter the land the Lord your God is giving you. You will take it as your own. You will make your homes in it. When you do, you will say, let's appoint a king over us like all the nations around us. When that happens, make sure you appoint yourself a king the Lord your God chooses. He must be from among your own people. Don't appoint yourself someone from another country. Don't choose anyone who isn't of the tribe of Israel. The king must not get large numbers of horses for himself, and he must not make the people return to Egypt to get more horses. The Lord has told you, you must not go back there again. The king must not have many wives. If he does, they will lead him astray. It's like Solomon. He must not store up large amounts of silver and gold. When he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he must make for himself a copy of the law. He must write on a scroll the law that I am teaching you. He must copy it from the scroll of a priest who is a Levite. The king must keep the scroll close to him at all times. He must read it all the days of his life. It's like the Bible. You should read it all the days of your life. Even though you read it the first time, you read it again, and read it again. You always learn something. He won't think of himself as being better than his people are. He won't turn away from the law. He won't turn to the right or left. Then he and his sons after him will rule over his kingdom in Israel for a long time. So I'm at Deaturomony chapter 18. Offerings for the priests and Levites. I don't know what they're talking about, like, it's always just under attention. I have scriptures on my door. Guys, I have scriptures on my door, and then sometimes it leads, I don't know. But that's not my fault. You're a Christian phobia. Offerings for the priests and Levites. The priests who are Levites won't receive any part of the land of Israel. That also applies to the whole tribe of Levi. They will eat the food offering present to the Lord. That will be their share. They won't have any part of the land the Lord gave the other tribes in Israel. The Lord himself is their share, and just as he promised them. Anyone who sacrifices a bull or a sheep owes a share of it to the priest. Their share is the shoulder, the inside parts, and the meat from the head. You must give the priest the first share of the harvest of your grain, olive oil, and fresh wine, and you must also give them the first wool you clip from your sheep. The Lord your God has chosen the Levites and their sons after them to serve him in his name always. He hasn't chosen priests from any of your other tribes. So I want to do a prayer. Father God, please keep me safe from my surroundings around here. And I pray one day I get a job and get off the system. The system, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't like being told how to pay my rent or do anything. If I'm paying my rent, I'm good. Like, why do you gotta complain and say, like, try to say this and that? Like, I'm trying to do something bad or something. They don't want you to become something. They don't want you to have more than what you're supposed to have. That's why. They want you to be low in life. So that's why I have to get a job and get off this. It's so bad. But I pray that you give me wisdom and keep me protected and keep me focused on you. Amen. Sometimes a Levite will move from the town in Israel where he's living, and he will come to the place the Lord will choose. He'll do it because they really want to. Then he can serve in the name of the Lord his God. He'll be like all the other Levites who serve the Lord there. He must have an equal share of the good things they have. That applies even if he has already received money by the sale of things his family owned. Practices the Lord hates. Deaturomony, we're still in Deaturomony chapter 18, verse 9. Practices the Lord hates. You will enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, and when you do, don't copy the practices of the nations there. Don't practice the unbelievers' lifestyles, the people that doesn't worship Christ, because they're evil. The Lord hates those practices. Here are the things you must not do. Don't sacrifice your children in the fire to other gods. Don't practice any kind of evil magic at all. Don't use magic to try to explain the meaning of warnings in the sky or any other signs. Don't take part in worshiping evil powers. Don't put a spell on anyone, and don't get messages from those who have died. Don't talk to the spirits of the dead, and don't get advice from the dead. The Lord your God hates it when anyone does these things. The nations in the land he's giving you do these things, and he hates. So he will drive out those nations to make room for you. You must be without blame in the sight of the Lord your God. The Bible talks about witches in the land of Canaan. Reach Deaturomony chapter 18, verse 9, 13, to see what God said about them. Some people like horror movies about demons or witches. Now think about these questions. Is it good to watch horror movies? How can they hurt you? And would God want us to watch things he says are evil? Should we watch these things even if they don't plan to do them ourselves? Talk about this with you. You would take over the nations that are in the land the Lord is giving you. They listen to those who practice all kinds of evil magic. But you belong to the Lord your God, and he says you must not do these things. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me. He will be one of your own people. You must listen to him at Mount Horeb, and you ask the Lord your God for a prophet. You asked him on the day you gathered together. You said, we don't want to hear the voice of the Lord our God. We don't want to see this great fire anymore. If we do, we'll die. The Lord said to me, what they are saying is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you. He will be one of their own people. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I commanded him to say. The prophet will speak in my name, but someone might not listen to what I say through the prophet. I will hold that person responsible for not listening. But suppose a prophet dares to speak in my name something I have not commanded, or he speaks in the name of other gods, then that prophet must be put to death. You will say to yourself, how can we know when a message hasn't been spoken by the Lord? Sometimes a prophet will announce something in the name of the Lord, and it won't take place or come true. Then that's a message the Lord hasn't told him to speak. That prophet has dared to speak on his own authorities. So don't be afraid of what he says. Deaturomony chapter 19. Deaturomony chapter 19. Seduce to run to for safety. The Lord your God will destroy your nations whose land he has given you. You will drive them out, and you will make your homes in their towns and their houses. When you do, set apart yourself, free cities in the land. It's the land the Lord your God is giving you to take as your own. Figure out the distance and then separate the land into 3 parts. Then anyone who kills another person can run to one of these cities for safety. They're in the land the Lord your God is giving you as your own. Here is the rule about a person who kills someone. That person can run to one of those cities for safety. The rule applies to anyone who kills a neighbor they didn't hate and didn't mean to kill. For example, suppose a man goes into a forest with his neighbor to cut wood. When he swings his axe to chop down a tree, the head of the axe flies off, and it hits his neighbor and kills him. That man can run to one of those cities and save himself. If he doesn't go to one of those cities, the dead man's nearest male relative might become very angry, and he might chase the man. If the city is too far away, he might catch him and kill him. But the man running to the city isn't worthy of death, because he didn't hate his neighbor. That's why I command you to set apart for yourself 3 cities. The Lord your God will increase the size of your territory. He promised your people of long ago that he would do it. He would give you the whole land he promised them. But here, do it only if you are careful to obey all the laws I'm commanding you today. I command you to love the Lord your God, and you must live as he wants you to live. Suppose you are careful to obey you're careful to obey, and the Lord your God gives you more land. Then you must set apart 3 cities. more cities. Do it to protect those not guilty of murder. Then you won't spill their blood in your land. It's the land the Lord your God is giving you as your own. But suppose a man hates his neighbor, so he hides and waits for him. Then he attacks him and kills him. And he runs to one of those cities for safety. If he does, the elders of his own town must send for him, and he must be brought back from the city, and he must be handed over to the dead man's nearest male relative. Then the relative will kill him. Don't feel sorry for him. He has killed someone who hasn't done anything wrong. Crimes like that must be punished in Israel. Then things will go well with you. Don't move your neighbor's boundary stone. It was set up by people who lived there before you. It marks the border of a field and the land you will receive as your own. And the Lord your God is giving you that land, and you will take it over. Suppose someone is charged with committing a crime of any kind. Then one witness won't be enough to prove that person is guilty. Every matter must be proved by the words of 2 or 3 witnesses. Suppose a witness who tells lies goes to court and brings charges against someone. The witness says someone committed a crime, and then the 2 people in the case must stand in front of the Lord. They must stand in front of the priests and the judges who are in the office at that time, and the judges must check out the matter carefully. And suppose the witness is proved to be lying, then he has said something false in court against another Israelite. So do to the lying witness what he tried to do to the other person. Get rid of that evil witness. The rest of the people will hear about it, and they will be afraid, and they won't allow such evil thing to be done among them again. Don't feel sorry for that evil person. A life must be taken for a life, and an eye must be put out for an eye. A tooth must be knocked out for a tooth. A hand must be cut off for a hand, and a foot for a foot. So it's Deaturomony 20. Going to war. When you go to war against your enemies, you might see that they have horses and chariots. They might even have an army stronger than yours. But don't be afraid of them. The Lord your God will be with you. After all, he brought you out of Egypt. Just before you go into battle, the priest will come forward and he'll speak to the army. He'll say, "Men of Israel, listen to me. Today you are going to battle against your enemies. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Don't panic or be terrified by them. The Lord your God is going with you. He'll fight for you. He'll help you win the battle over your enemies. The officers will speak to the army, and they will say, has anyone built a new house and not started to live in it? Let him go home. If he doesn't, he might die in battle. Then someone else will live in his house. Has anyone planted a vineyard and not started to enjoy it? Let him go home. If he doesn't, he might die in battle. Then someone else will enjoy his vineyard. Has anyone promised to be married to a woman but hasn't done it yet? Let him go home. If he doesn't, he might die in battle. Then someone else will marry her. The officers will continue. Is anyone afraid or scared? Let him go home. Then the other soldiers won't lose hope too. The officers will finish speaking to the army, and when they do, there are appointed commanders over it. Suppose you march up to attack a city. Before you attack it, offer to make peace with its people. Suppose they accept your offer and open your gates. Then force all the people in the city to be your slaves. They will have to work for you, but suppose they refuse your offer of peace and prepare for battle. Then surround the city, get ready to attack it. The Lord your God will hand it over to you, and when he does, kill all the men with your swords, but you can take the women and children for yourselves. You can also take the livestock and everything else in the city, what you have captured from your enemies, and you can use for yourself. The Lord your God has given it to you. That's how you must treat all the cities far away from you. Those cities don't belong to the nations that are nearby. But what about the cities the Lord your God has given you as your own? Kill everything that breeds in those cities. Completely destroy them. Wipe out the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. That's what the Lord your God commanded you to do. If you don't destroy them, they'll teach you to do all the things the Lord hates. He hates the way they worship their gods, their false gods. If you do these things, if you do those things, you will sin against the Lord your God. Suppose you surround a city and get ready to attack it, and suppose you fight against it for a long time in order to capture it. Then don't chop down its trees and destroy them. You can eat their fruits, so don't cut them down. Are the trees people? So why should you attack them? But you can cut down the trees that you know aren't fruit trees. You can build war machines out of the wood. You can use them until you capture the city you are fighting against. Finally. Honey. Oh my. I like Deaturomony. So I think I'll stop at 21. Maybe I'll stop at 22. So what to do when you don't know who killed someone? Suppose you find someone who has been killed. The body is lying in a field in the land the Lord your God is giving you as your own, but no one knows who the killer was. Then your elders and judges will go out to the field. They will measure the distance from the body in the nearby towns, and the elders from the town that is nearest to the body will get a young cow. It must never have been used for work. It must never have pulled a load. The elders must lead it down into a valley. The valley must not have been farmed, and there must be a stream flowing through it. There in the valley, the elders must break the cow's neck. The priests who are sons of Levi will step forward. The Lord your God has chosen them to serve him. He wants them to bless the people in his name, and he wants them to decide all cases that have to do with people arguing and attacking others. Then all the elders from the town that is nearest to the body will wash their hands, and they will wash them over the young cow, whose neck they broke in the valley. They say to the Lord, we didn't kill that person. We didn't see it happen, except this payment for the sin of your people Israel. Lord, you have set your people free. Don't hold them guilty for spilling blood of someone who hasn't done anything wrong. That will pay for the death of that person. So you will get rid of the guilt of killing someone who didn't do anything wrong. That's because you have done what is right in the Lord's eye. Suppose you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God hands them over to you, and you take them as prisoners. Then you notice a beautiful woman among them. If you like her, you may marry her. Bring her home, have her shave her head, and cut her nose. Have her throw away the clothes she was wearing when she was captured. Let her live in your house and mourn the loss of her parents for her full month. for a full month. Then you can go to her and be her husband, and she would be your wife. But suppose you aren't pleased with her, then let her go where she wants to. You must not sell her. You must not treat her as a slave. You have already brought her shame on her. Suppose a man has 2 wives, and he loves one, but not the other, and both of them have sons by him. But the older son is the son of the wife the man doesn't love. Someday he'll leave his property to his sons. When he does, he must not give the rights of the oldest son to the son of the wife he loves. He must give those rights to his oldest son, and he must do it even though his oldest son is the son of the wife he doesn't love. He must recognize the full rights of the oldest son. He must do it even though that son is the son of the wife he doesn't love, and he must give that son a double share of everything he has. That son is the first sign of his father's strength, so the rights of the oldest son belong to him. His stubborn son. Suppose someone has a very stubborn son. He doesn't obey his father and mother, and he won't listen to them when they try to correct him. Then his parents will take hold of him and bring him out to the elders at the gate of his town. They will say to the elders, "This son is ours, is very stubborn. He won't obey us. He eats too much. He always getting drunk." Then all the people in his town will put him to death by throwing stones at him. Get rid of that evil person. All the Israelites will hear about it, and they will be afraid to disobey their parents. Suppose someone is put to death for a crime worthy of death, and a pole is stuck through their body and set up where people can see it. Then you must not leave the body on the pole all night. Make sure you bury it that same day. Everyone who is hung on a pole is under God's curse. You must not make the land unclean. The Lord your God is giving it to you as your own.